10 fragrances that women love on guys. Fellas, you're in for a good one. I once read commentary from a lady talking about this particular scent, and she said that if I smell this fragrance on a guy, I would want to have sex with him immediately and then run away. You know, guys, a few videos back, I had on a suit and I was talking about how sharp I was, and a gentleman commented on my video and said, "Man, I don't like that. Your suit is too tight." It reminded me of a very infamous quote that says, "It is one thing to be considered a fool, but it's a totally different thing to open your mouth and remove all doubt." What's poppin', YouTube? It's your boy Darren. I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy, and I talk about men's fashion, fragrance, as well as lifestyle on this channel. So if you enjoy looking good, smelling great, you will look forward or enjoy trying to be the best version of yourself each and every day, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel. And also make sure you go ahead and hit that bell icon as well to get notified anytime I upload new content on this channel. So on today's video, I am going to be diving deep into 10 fragrances from my collection that women love on guys. Now today it is not just going to be a matter of my opinion and my experience, because I am making reference to an article that I read in the Gentleman's Journal. And it was an article that was actually done by a female editor, and she profiled and asked women what kind of fragrances or scents that they love to smell on guys. So we're going to have, of course, some of my opinion, of course, as well as the opinion of these ladies that I've utilized to come up with the fragrance list for you guys today. So guys, as this one-time infamous announcer said, today we are in for a doozy. So if you want to see what's on the list today of 10 fragrances that women love on men, then you know the routine. Keep it locked right here. Let's get it.
The Bowtie Fragrance Guy.
All right, YouTube, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. Let's go ahead and jump into this list of fragrances again, where we're talking about 10 fragrances that women love on men. And the first fragrance up today that I want to talk about is one from the house of Tom Ford, and this one is called Tobacco Oud. Tobacco Oud. This fragrance comes from the private collection of Tom Ford, and simply put, this thing is sexy, okay? This thing is sexy. I once read commentary from a lady talking about this particular scent, and she said that if I smell this fragrance on a guy, I would want to have sex with him immediately and then run away. Now, depending on what fellas you talk to, that might not be such a bad thing. But what I love about this fragrance and why I think this fragrance is so polarizing and gets that kind of reaction from ladies is the fact that it is something so drawing and so alluring about this fragrance. One of the notes that they talked about in the article was the note of tobacco. And tobacco is a very, very, to me, in most cases, a kind of sensual, masculine note. It is one that I just think is very drawing for women. Again, when I think about notes like tobacco, notes that have, or fragrances that have more of a boozy accord to them as well, and this does have whiskey, those type of notes just evoke that kind of bad boy, kind of living on the edge kind of situation. And that's what I think about when I think about this fragrance. So this fragrance right here is the guy, when you walk into, a woman walks into a restaurant to meet this guy on the first date, and he's sitting over there in the corner. He has on all black. He has on a shirt, and he has maybe the top 3 or 4 buttons unbuttoned, and he's sitting in the corner waiting on her. He's tapping his fingers on the table. and when she walks up to him, he says, "Hello, where have you been all my life?" Oh boy. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. But seriously, this fragrance kind of invokes that kind of bad boy kind of personality type, and I think that's something that women are just drawn to at the end of the day. Now, the missus said that this fragrance smells like straight sex. Check please. So at the end of the day, guys, tobacco, oud, this is another. This is a note I'm gonna talk about later. Both these notes, and they're both in this, and this has a boozy accord. Just check it out, guys, because women love this stuff. From the House of Tom Ford, again, this one is called Tobacco Oud. Speaking of the note of tobacco, another fragrance that I would highly recommend as a fragrance that women love, and this is not only based on that article, but just based on my experience wearing this scent. This one is kind of the opposite of the tobacco oud. This is a more calming kind of scent that does feature the note of tobacco, and this one is from the House of Xerjoff, and this is called NAXOS. NAXOS. A lot of compliments when I wear this scent. Now, this one features not only, of course, the tobacco, but this has a note of lavender. And you guys have seen lavender used in a lot of different products, whether it be body wash, whether it be lotions and things of that nature. And oftentimes is used in products that are good for the nighttime. So they help people sleep. They're calming. That's what the lavender does in this fragrance. It's a very calming note. In this composition, you have tobacco and you have honey, and those notes are offset with the lavender in this scent. A few words that they kind of use to describe the note of tobacco was like narcotic, sexy, and that's exactly, as I just explained with tobacco oud, what tobacco brings to a fragrance. So another fragrance that I highly recommend that you check out, one that women love on, guys, is this one from the House of Xerjoff. Again, this is called NAXOS. All right, guys, now the next fragrance up on this list, this actually comes from the House of Electimus, and this is called IMPERIUM. This fragrance right here, IMPERIUM, and the reason that I chose this one is because they also talked about the note of vanilla, and the word used to describe fragrances that have vanilla, if it's done the right way, is sensual. Sensual, of course, and this fragrance right here has sensual written all over it. I've talked about it before and how this fragrance kind of has that Aventus vibe, a slight Aventus vibe to it, but the primary note in this is vanilla. So, Acqu Di Aventus, sensual vanilla, can't miss. Put this fragrance right here in your life, put it on your list of fragrances to try, because this is one that women love on, guys. From the House of Electimus, this is called IMPERIUM. All right, so the next fragrance up on this list, this one actually comes from the House of BDK Parfums, and this one is called GRIS CHARNEL. GRIS CHARNEL. And another note that women really seem to be attracted to is the note of sandalwood. Sandalwood to me is the soft, woody note, softer than most of the other notes that you will find that fall under the woody category. And of course, we understand most of the time that sandalwood tends to bring this creamy sexiness to a fragrance. And that's exactly what you get in this fragrance right here. This is one of the best sandalwood fragrances to me. And BDK just really did a good job of highlighting the note of sandalwood in this in a very sexy way. They actually added some fig. And I always talk about this. Fig kind of gives this extra layer of creaminess and sensuality to scents as well. And you get a double dose of that in this scent. So guys, if you're looking for one that women are attracted to, that features a note of sandalwood, I highly recommend you check this one out from the House of BDK Parfums. This fragrance is called GRIS CHARNEL. All right, guys, so the next note that they talked about that women really love in men's fragrances is the note of vetiver. And I have one of the best vetiver scents, in my humble opinion, from the House of Creed, and this is called Original Vetiver. Original Vetiver. This is a very clean and soapy vetiver fragrance, and I always talk about that. Women love clean and fresh, and when you throw that in with the note of vetiver, another one where you cannot miss. This fragrance to me kind of gets overlooked by, of course, overshadowed by a lot more popular scents from the House of Creed. But man, I'm telling you, when it comes to the ladies, this is one that you might want to put your nose on. Now, at the end of the day, the note of vetiver, very sharp, woody, fresh. Again, adjectives that are not a bad thing when you talk about a men's fragrance. and the response that you get from women. But this is considered a very masculine note. You won't find a lot of women's fragrances that actually feature the note of vetiver because, again, just like, you know, maybe notes of jasmine or other floral notes may be more associated with women's perfume, the note of vetiver is oftentimes associated with men's fragrances. But women love to smell that on guys. So check this one out from the House of Creed. Again, this one is called Original Vetiver. All right, guys, now the next, this is kind of more of a category of fragrance that they talked about, and it is the category of an aquatic scent. Now, we know at the end of the day, most aquatic fragrances, it's kind of hard to do that completely wrong. I mean, the average person that you come into contact with are probably more accustomed to smelling more aquatic or fresh scents on guys. It's us frag heads that get into the more deep, dark, mysterious, sometimes even challenging or difficult to wear scents. But aquatics, very, very classic, very, very again, familiar to most people. And the one that I have here represented in that category today is from the house of Giorgio Armani, and the fragrance is Acqu Di Gio Profondo. Now, quite naturally, you can take your pick from the line of Acqu Di Gio of this particular scent, because all of the iterations of this fragrance will work for this particular category. But women love aquatics. Again, it's familiar to them. It's the type of scent that they're used to smelling on guys. There is something kind of youthful and gives the impression of a guy not really trying to try too hard when they're wearing a fragrance. And that's something, that familiarity is something that women really are drawn to. As you guys can see, I haven't had this long, but I've already put quite a nice dent in this fragrance, because this is just one of those scents that, regardless of the situation, you can kind of throw this on and know that you're going to be smelling good. And you're probably going to get some positive reactions from folks that you come into contact with, because people just kind of love this kind of DNA. So this is one that I highly recommend you check it out from the house of Giorgio Armani. Again, this one is called Acqu Di Gio, and this is the Eau de Parfum. Now, guys, I have talked about this time and time again on this channel that women love sweet fragrances. Sweet, but not overly sweet. And I have the perfect fragrance that fits that particular description. And this one is also from the house of Tom Ford. And this is Tom Ford's Noir Extreme. Noir Extreme, when you talk about sensuality in a bottle, the perfect date night fragrance, this is one that I am always going to make a reference to. I've talked about it a lot on this channel, so I won't go into much detail. But again, there is just something really sexy about this fragrance, and it really gives the impression, again, that you don't have to try that hard to make it work on a date night. That's the kind of fragrance that this is. That coffee in this is very, very seductive. And again, it's just one of those kind of fragrances of the sweet variety that women just respond to. So check this one out, guys. Again, you know, this is one of my all-time favorites from the house of Tom Ford. And again, this is called Noir Extreme. All right, guys, now the next fragrance up on the list is one that I've kind of talked about quite often over the last year on this channel, for good reason. You talk about getting positive responses from the ladies, this fragrance is the top of the class. And this one is from the house of Yves Saint Laurent as well. This is Homme Le Parfum. Homme Le Parfum. Listen, a lot of people over the course of time, I understand they've kind of started to not really care as much for the whole blue fragrance DNA. But when you talk about what works, blue fragrances do tend to work. And again, this is one of the best in class. This was released in the year of 2020, and it kind of gives you those, like I've said before, those Dylan Blue kind of vibes, but with an aquatic touch. And I just talked about the fact that women love aquatics. They love blue fragrances. Again, they're familiar. It's something that makes them feel comfortable. And this is one, like I said, of the best in class that's been released over the last 2 years. So I highly recommend this fragrance. I know when I wear it, most of the time I get very positive responses in regards to compliments and things of that nature. Oh, you smell really nice. What is that you're wearing, kind of stuff. So check it out from the house of Yves Saint Laurent. This is called Homme Le Parfum. All right, so the next fragrance up on this list, we're going back to the house of Tom Ford. And this one is called Black Orchid. Black Orchid. Now this particular fragrance, I've talked about this as well. Women love things sometimes that they can see themselves wearing. This fragrance to me does florals, probably one of the best that I've put my nose on as it relates to a fragrance that can be 100% unisex. I've seen and smelled this fragrance before on guys. I've smelled it, of course, before on women, and it works on both sexes. It smells one way on men and a whole different way on feminine skin. And at the end of the day, when women smell this on guys, of course, it's one that they can see themselves wearing, because plenty of women wear this fragrance. I'm telling you guys, it's one that definitely works when you talk about a fragrance that women just love. So check this one out. It's from the house of Tom Ford, and this one is called Tom Ford's Black Orchid. All right, guys, and last but not least on this list today, another note that over the past years has started to gain some traction as it relates to women loving to smell this note on guys, but it has to be done the right way, and this fragrance does it the right way. From the house of Creed, this fragrance is called Royal Oud. Royal Oud. Now, in my experience, guys, women, they don't like the barnyard stuff, okay? So those fragrances that feature the note of oud and is very prominent and fecal and kind of in your face, that's not the kind of scent that I'm referring to, but that's not what this is. Now, if you can throw oud in there and use it the right way, where it's relatively light, well blended, but it gives that fragrance that extra push, that extra little bit of masculinity, women tend to like that kind of oud fragrance. You think about this kind of fragrance like, again, Royal Oud from Creed. You think about Oud Wood from Tom Ford, and also Gucci Intense Oud, which is a designer oud fragrance that I'll be talking about here coming up pretty soon. I'm going to be talking about that fragrance more. Those type of fragrances that feature the note of oud, but it's not, boom, too much in your face. Women love that kind of scent. Again, oud gives that kind of mysterious sexiness to fragrances that women respond to. So check this one out, guys, from the house of Creed. This is called Royal Oud. All right, guys, that's it. That's my time today. I hope you enjoyed this list today, as I gave you 10 fragrances that women love on men. As always, I sincerely appreciate your time and your attention to these videos, because you don't have to watch, but guess what? You do, and I sincerely appreciate that. Now, don't forget to make sure you take a few moments to go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you share these videos out to some other folks that could use this information or find it entertaining. Because I'm your guy, Darren. I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, guys, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.